This is Mark Arnold, animation historian, and I wrote a book called Created and Produced by Total Television Productions. And today I'm talking with Buck Biggers, who is one of the founders of Total Television Productions and co-author of the book with fellow founder Chet Stover. The book's called How Underdog Was Born. Buck Biggers was also the creator of Underdog, and we're with him today. Hello, Buck.
Terrific, thanks. How are you doing?
This was the first episode of Underdog. It was actually the pilot called Safe Waif. And Buck, tell me how the series came about.
This origin is not as simple as some are. I'll try to keep it very simple, but in the past, the stories that have been printed were not quite right. It just sounded like Chet saw Lucille Ball in a Superman costume and decided we should do a super series. Well, it's a lot different than that. We actually got an assignment in New York for General Mills, which was totally different than anything we'd had because it was going to be a competition. Another creative team, Ward and Scott, who did Rocky and Bullwinkle, were going to do a series for General Mills, and we were going to do create a series for General Mills, neither of which might be accepted, but if they were, the favorite would go into an NBC time slot, and the other one would go into an ABC time slot, which was not nearly in those days as good. As to what kind of series, it was wide open. Chet and I took that and we thought that was great at first. No rules, any kind of series. You just name it, just figure it out and do it. But it proved to be totally not a good thing. We had so many ideas, we didn't know where to start. And the only thing that we had gotten in the original assignment was the word super. Gordon Johnson, who had given us the assignment, had said, you gotta really have a super series if you wanna win this contest. You gotta have a super series, and I mean a super series, that's all he kept saying. So anyway, with that being our only clue, we decided that we would like to do a super series. And Chet, only 4 days before that, with his son at home from school, being ill, had watched TV. Chet never watched TV. He was watching TV and saw this very hilarious episode with Lucille Ball portraying Superman for her son's party. So we thought, yes, we'll have a superhero, but he'll be a comic superhero. And it won't be a woman, we're not going to try that, but it will be an animal, because General Mills liked animals. And he will be not strong, he'll be weak. He'll be a 98-pound weakling. And we even decided that he would speak his lines in poetry. That's how he would appear. And totally different than any superhero. And not that when he stepped into a phone booth, he would suddenly turn into a non-poetry speaking 200-pound heavyweight. He would remain a 98-pound weakling. And that's what we had. And we had 4 weeks to get this whole thing together. And we thought we had a brilliant start, but all of a sudden we couldn't seem to go any farther. What kind of animal should it be? And nothing seemed to work. So we stopped trying to think of that and tried to think of voices. What kind of voice would it be? We wanted a very subtle voice, and we also wanted a name. But we didn't know what animal, didn't know what voice, and didn't know what name. And it began to creep toward the time we were supposed to have our first meeting, just a rough board for Gordon Johnson, and we didn't have anything. We happened to see a movie called Spencer's Mountain, and in the movie was a little guy who played a preacher, and that was Wally Cox. And I remember calling Chet on the phone and saying, what do you think? He said, yeah, right on. That's it, that's our 98-pound weakling. He's perfect. So we got together in the next meeting, we had that far. The only thing we didn't have was we didn't know what kind of animal to make him, and we didn't know what the name would be. So we're sitting there at the table, and time is running out. We said, well, this time we got out to General Mills with Ward and Scott and all their contacts, we're going to be the underdogs. It was just a miracle.